What's good with you? It's your boy Travis Kinley coming to you with another one. That Sleeper Berth you already know. Tonight, I want to go one step further with the Sleeper Berth. So I'm going to focus on the 8-2 split, but just understand the same thing happens with the 7-3 split. The numbers just change. Quick recap from my last Sleeper Berth video. Remember with the Sleeper Berth, when you do, just again, focusing on the 8-2, remember with the Sleeper Berth, when you do the first or the second, when you do the 2, it's got to be in any off-duty status. So either off-duty, personal conveyance, or Sleeper Berth. When you do the 8, it must be in Sleeper Berth. All must be consecutive. If you do the off duty, it must be 2 hours consecutively. You can't do hour and a half, off duty, and then 10 minutes personal conveyance, 5 minutes on duty, and then go back 20 minutes off duty. It's not gonna work that way. It's got to be 2 hours straight of off duty, any off duty status, and 8 hours straight of Sleeper Berth. Whenever you complete either one, it's going to stop your 14, and once you complete both, you get the time that you used prior to doing the first. You understand what I'm saying? So now I just want to give you a quick example of how this happened to me in real life. Sorry, I thought I heard a noise. I want to give you a quick example of how this happened to me in real life. This was a couple days ago. Let me make sure I'm on the right load here. Yes, so this was a couple days ago on a multi-stop load. I had a drop-off at 12 a.m., midnight, and then I had another drop-off that was going to happen at 6 o'clock a.m., okay? So what I did before the midnight drop, that was Monday at 12:01 a.m. So on Sunday evening, what I did was position myself at the nearest truck stop to that dropping point, and then I immediately went in off duty. I did a 10-hour and reset all of my clocks. You remember, if you're not a trucker and you're watching, please watch Hours of Service 101. I understand those videos took time for me to complete, but understand it took time because I really wanted to make sure that this just keeps building on each other. Okay, if you're watching this but you haven't watched Hours of Service 101, 2, and then the last Sleeper Berth, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. Okay, please watch the first one, and I'm telling you, you're gonna come out a much better and more knowledgeable person and ready to take on this Hours of Service thing. Nevertheless, I entered that truck stop on Sunday evening, right before the midnight drop. Not right before, but before the midnight drop, Sunday afternoon or whatever it was. I went into off duty, then went into sleeper. I actually went to sleep. I did a 10-hour reset that reset my clocks, that 8-hour, 11-hour, and 14-hour clocks, like a fresh day, right? Then I approached the midnight drop. Understand what I'm saying? Because there are ways to mess this up, and then you don't have time to do anything else. I didn't want to just drop these 2 loads and not have time to do anything else. I'm going to explain how I could have messed it up. First, I'm going to explain how I executed it correctly and conserved as much time as I possibly could. So the truck stop happened to be across the street from the midnight drop, so that was awesome. So what I did was, after doing my pre-trip inspection, all the numbers I throw out at you, I'm gonna act as if the pre-trip is in those numbers and everything. I don't want to try to do the all of the math, okay? Nevertheless, what I did was, when I went to the midnight drop, and then after the midnight drop, let's say that took an hour and 10 minutes. We'll give it an hour and 10 minutes for me to get from the truck stop across the street to the midnight drop, to get dropped, and then back across the street to the truck stop, and then I immediately shut down again. Why did I shut down? Because I want to pause my 14-hour clock. The next drop is not until 6 a.m. and it was only 69 miles away. Let's call it an hour drive. It was only 69 miles away. So I want to shut this clock down because it's 1:10 a.m. in the morning. I don't want to burn 3 hours, potentially 3 hours of wasted time, which would put me at the time when I need to start driving and then the time when I get to the actual drop. I don't want to burn potentially 3 to 4 hours of wasted time doing nothing. You see what I'm saying? And then those 4 hours of time just disappears from my 14-hour clock, but I wasn't actually working. You want to put your time to use, okay? Time is literally money in this industry. If you don't have the time, you don't get the load. Somebody else does who's managing their time. You see what I'm saying? So I went back across the street to that truck stop and I shut my truck down and I took another nap. You see? I took at least 2 hours in off-duty time. All right, 2 hours in off-duty status. If you watch the previous video or you understand the 8-2 split, that 2 hours paused my 14-hour clock at the time in which I initially clicked off-duty. So as I said, it took an hour and 10 minutes for me to do that and get back to my spot. That means my 14-hour clock said 12 hours and 50 minutes when I hit off-duty. See what I'm saying? Now I have 12 hours and 50 minutes of a work day to complete what I need to do. You see, my drive time barely had anything on it. You know, it didn't take me an hour and 10 minutes to drive over there and drive back. It only took me, I don't know, 5 minutes or something like that. Nevertheless, my 14-hour clock now says 12 hours and 50 minutes. All right, so I go off duty. I complete my 2-hour break at least. My 14-hour clock returns back to what it initially said when I went off duty. And then I started driving probably about 5 a.m. or something of that nature, okay? So let's say it just took me an hour to get there, a square hour to get there, and whatever else that I did. Let's say it took 2 hours to complete the whole process, okay? Driving, docking, clearing, and going to the nearest stop. I don't remember where I parked, okay? So the point was, what I wanted to ensure that would happen was I had as much hours on my clock as possible for when my dispatcher got to work, then he would see that I had a full clock, really as much as I could possibly have, so he could dispatch me out. You see, this is the reason, if you watch the Sleeper Berth video, this is the reason I do not focus on doing the 8 first and then doing the 2 later. Usually I execute a 2-8 split, if you really want to say it like that. It's an 8-2 split, but I do the 2 first. Through context of conversation with other people, I found out a lot of people are like, what, you can do the 2 first? Or I didn't even know you could do that. You know what I'm saying? Yes, you can do the 2 of the 8-2 first. If you want to take 3 hours off duty, you can do the 3 first and then do 7 hours of Sleeper Berth later. You can pause your 14-hour clock and save your time for later, but you must be intentional about it, or sometimes you're going to just move the truck not thinking about it, and now all of that time is off of your 14-hour clock. You see, if I had not paused my 14-hour clock according to the math that we did, I would have taken an hour and 10 minutes to go across the street, make the delivery, and get back. Then the 4 hours would have gotten basically thrown in the trash can. So now that's 5 hours and 10 minutes off of my clock, and I haven't even gone to the 6 o'clock delivery yet. Then I get to the 6 o'clock delivery, but plus 1 hour, that's 1 hour of driving. I told you maybe 1 hour to complete the delivery. That's 2 more hours. Now 7 hours and 10 minutes is off of my 14-hour clock. Now I have half of the day versus having, I don't remember what I said before, 10 hours. Versus 10 hours, I have 7 hours. You see? Okay, which situations, I'm about to wrap this up, which situations might you execute the 2-hour break first? Here's another example. There are certain shippers and receivers, certain customers that we have at Primer. There's certain customers everybody has that, you know, it takes roughly this, like the first X amount of hours are free, and then everything after that is 84 cents per minute of detention pay or something of that nature. If you know that, sometimes when you go to these customers, you'll notice they're calling your cell phone right at 1 hour and 48 minutes. You know what I'm saying? They know their first 2 hours is free. They get it, okay? They read the contract too. If you know you caught that pattern, every time you go to a customer like that, expect to have the potential, expect the potential to be there for you to execute an 8-2 split. You see? So if I'm at one of those customers, even if they call me at an hour, and honestly, if they call me at an hour and 52 minutes, I'm not gonna run to go get my paperwork. I'm just being real. I'm going to walk, but I'm not gonna run. You see, I need to burn 8 minutes, okay? So I need to take about 2 to 3 minutes to get there. I might, hey, all right, okay, just checking your paperwork, okay? I'm not saying be sitting on people's property. I'm not saying do anything wrong. What I'm saying is be intentional about your time. If you're cranking the truck, you got your paperwork, you're cranking the truck and you're about to pull out of the dock and it says an hour and 58 minutes, you know, maybe you can do something else about that, is all I'm saying, okay? Don't break any rules, don't do anything wrong, but be intentional about your time. When is another time when you might execute a 2-8 split, right? Especially if you're at one of those customers, and I'll add to that, another time is when you have a pre-plan lined up after it. You definitely want to execute the 8-2 split, but put the 2 first when you have a pre-plan lined up after it. So important. If you don't have a pre-plan lined up after it, you can use personal conveyance and go to a truck stop, and now that adds to it, you see. But if you have a pre-plan lined up after it, save your time. Save your time. Okay? Another way you can execute an 8-2 split, but put the 2 first, is I showed up, maybe I have a drop in Northampton, Massachusetts at 8 o'clock a.m., but I showed up around 5:15 a.m., right? But I can be 1 hour early to that appointment time. Great. I'm like 25 minutes away. I showed up at 5:15. I can arrive 1 hour early. The appointment time is at 8 a.m. and I showed up at 5:15. I'm 20 minutes away, right? So if the appointment time's at 8 a.m. and I can be there an hour early, I want to be there an hour early. That's 7 a.m. If I'm 20 minutes away, that's 6:40. I need to leave at 6:40. No, you don't. Okay? If you showed up at 5:15, you can execute an 8-2 split by just sitting tight until 7:15. The appointment's 20 minutes away. Sit tight till 7:15. As soon as that thing says 7:15 and you notice your 14-hour clock went back, then head to the appointment. I get it, you're not arriving an hour early, but you also just saved your 14. Now your 14 just restarted, right? Let's say that appointment's a drop and hook or something of that nature. It's not a live unload, because somebody will say, yeah, but you were going to a live unload and then you could have paused at 14 there. Yeah. Let's say it was a drop and hook. What I'm saying is you got to be paying attention to the moments, the opportunities in which you can save the time on your 14-hour clock. All right, so ways I could have messed up mine real fast. Ways I could have messed up mine. I just not click will pair. Right? Some of us, maybe if you're like me, you have a Qualcomm and there's a little box that says will pair sleeper berth, right? If you don't click will pair, you're throwing your time in the trash can. Even if you sit off duty for 2 hours, you didn't click will pair sleeper berth. It's basically when you click that box, it says I intend on doing a sleeper berth split. Well, you didn't click it. You threw it in the trash can. You see, another way I could have poorly executed that was I could have did my drop, went back to the truck stop. That took an hour and 10 minutes. Could have sat there for an hour and a half and said, well, I can't drive. I'm not paying attention. I'm just going to drive to the drop. And then I could have drove to the drop, but then I took a few breaks and I hung out. I got me a little biscuit in the middle of the night because I passed the truck stop at a McDonald's. You see what I'm saying? And I'm just burning time. Off duty, on duty, off duty, on duty, off duty, on duty. And I'm not thinking, let me hurry up and get somewhere so I can stop this doggone truck and sit for 2 hours. Okay? So y'all see what I'm saying? 8-2 split, just real quick recap. You do one, it stops your 14 and gives you the time back that you had when you initially clicked off duty. When you do the second one, after you complete the second one, it is going to give you the time back that you used before clicking off duty the first time. All right? It's your boy Travis Kinley. Love y'all. I hope that simplified things some way. If that did not simplify things, I ask you, please ask me, because this, I'm telling you, it just drives me nuts a little bit, okay? Time management is so important. It gives you opportunities that others will not have because they're not managing their time, okay? Like, if you know Johnson's Logic, Ross from Johnson's Logic is big on fuel. I'm not big on hours of service because I'm not like a 3-year veteran at it, but it is something I pay attention to. I'm extremely intentional about it because I know if I don't have time on my clock, I'm not getting a load. Okay? And I got a load that day that I'm on right now, and it is an extremely valuable load, and I am extremely grateful to have it. I don't know if you can see it on my face. I'm extremely grateful to have this load. And then when I got that load, I had the time on my 14 to go drive and sit in their overnight parking. I had the time to go drive, swap my trailers. It was a drop-in hook, and then sit in their overnight parking. So the following day when I would have arrived, I was actually leaving for my drop. That I'm only 400 some odd miles away, but I got a day and a half to take it. All right, it's your boy Travis Kinley. I love y'all. Find you somebody to love today. And as I always say, it's not about what you believe, it's why you believe it. See you soon.